Hey, welcome to the podcast. This is the Surge Effect, and this podcast, well, it'll probably have an effect on you. Well, hello, and welcome to another episode of the Surge Effect. In today's episode of the Surge Effect, we're going to be talking about Trump, the Israel and Iranian conflict that's been happening over the last several days. And we're also going to be talking about immigration in Canada. All right, so that's basically what today's podcast is. Hopefully we'll keep it fairly reasonable in time length, and hopefully you learn something maybe that you didn't know before. All right, so let's get at it. This first video I'm going to show you, of course, is of Trump, J.D. Vance, and Pete Hegseth talking about, this is from BBC actually, what they're going to do.
A short time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the three key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime: Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise. Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier. For 40 years, Iran has been saying death to America, death to Israel. They have been killing our people, blowing off their arms, blowing off their legs with roadside bombs. That was their specialty. We lost over 1,000 people, and hundreds of thousands throughout the Middle East and around the world have died as a direct result of their hate. In particular, so many were killed by their general, Qasem Soleimani. I decided a long time ago that I would not let this happen. It will not continue. I want to thank and congratulate Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. We worked as a team like perhaps no team has ever worked before.
All right, so that in a nutshell, right? You get the idea. The Iranians, of course, have been, yes, they've been dealing, death to America for like decades. Want to destroy America, destroy its people, kill its people. Kill its people. So they got rid of, they can't have nuclear bombs, right? So they got rid of the nuclear bombs. So here is just a little clip of a CNN, on CNN, of somebody talking about working for Obama. Listen to what she says on this clip.
Worked for an anti-war president, and I saw, no, he was. He ran against.
How many countries did you bomb the crap out of?
Well, that's what I'm going to say,
Lord
Scott.
have mercy.
Like, no. Like you guys didn't just use bombs for diplomacy.
But do you want to put the scorecards up against each other?
I'm
between
happy
bombs
to put
and
up
drones?
scorecards.
You all are the key.
I got lots of scorecards.
The continuity that work in both parties. Both parties have the continuity.
This is how ridiculous CNN is, right? She goes on and says, I work for an anti-war president. Well, I'm going to show you a couple of clips on this anti-war president that she worked for. Because, see, when Trump, of course, bombed these 3 nuclear facilities in Iran, everyone was up in arms saying, he needed congressional authority, and he didn't get one vote, and he never asked anyone's permission and all this other stuff. Listen to this. Pay attention to what's going on here.
I authorized 2 operations in Iraq. Targeted airstrikes to protect our American personnel. Last night, on my orders, America's armed forces began strikes against ISIL targets in Syria. Today, the American people give thanks for the extraordinary service of our men and women in uniform. Today, I authorized the armed forces of the United States to begin a limited military action in Libya. That action has now begun. Make no mistake, this is a difficult mission, and it will remain difficult for some time. It's It's going to take time to dislodge these terrorists, especially from urban areas. If the United States has al-Qaeda, bin Laden, top-level lieutenants in our sights, and Pakistan is unable or unwilling to act, then we should take them out.
All right, so get the idea. Well, here's another one of Obama.
Today I authorized 2 operations in Iraq. Targeted airstrikes to protect our American personnel. Last night, on my orders, America's armed forces began strikes against ISIL targets in Syria. Today, at my direction, the United States launched a targeted operation against that compound in Abbottabad, Pakistan. Today, I authorized the armed forces of the United States to begin a limited military action in Libya. Because a nuclear Iran is a threat to our national security. They can take the diplomatic route, or they will have to face a United States president, me, who said we're not going to take any options off the table.
So, in 8 years, he was president. He did it 7 times. Something to think about. Here's another little clip here. This is of Hillary Clinton talking about Iran. Here's what she had to say.
I want the Iranians to know that if I'm the president, we will attack Iran. Whatever stage of development they might be in their nuclear weapons program in the next 10 years, during which they might foolishly consider launching an attack on Israel, we would be able to totally obliterate them. That's a terrible thing to say, but those people who run Iran need to understand that, because that perhaps will deter them from doing something that would be reckless, foolish, and tragic.
See? So she said the same thing. Obama did what he did. All right, so let's move forward a little bit. This is what this little Fox clip here. This is of Trump talking about what happened after they nuked those sites, and now it's a bit of a ceasefire. Here we go.
News alert. President Trump says he's unhappy with both Israel and Iran, saying both nations violated their bilateral ceasefire agreement.
The president warning Israel that any military action will go against the deal after a senior Israeli official told Fox News that they will have to retaliate with force against Iran's missiles.
So the president right now is heading to the Netherlands to meet with NATO leaders. Here's what he said right before he left. Watch.
I don't think so, but I'm not happy that Israel's going out now. There was one rocket that I guess was fired overboard. It was after the time limit, and it missed its target. And now Israel's going out. These guys got to calm down. Ridiculous. How are you going to respond at the ceasefire? I didn't like plenty of things I saw yesterday. I didn't like the fact that Israel unloaded right after we made the deal. They didn't have to unload. And I didn't like the fact that the retaliation was very strong. But in all fairness, Israel unloaded a lot. And now I hear Israel just went out because they felt it was violated by one rocket that didn't land anywhere. That's not what we want, I'll tell you. And I'm telling you, I'm not happy about that, Israel, either.
He wasn't happy about Israel and what Israel did as a response after there was a ceasefire, right? Ceasefire with Iran, ceasefire with Israel. Trump made it happen for that peace talk, and then they started shooting stuff back and forth. So here's another little clip here about CNN and MSNBC. They asked a question about the bomber pilots because they said, they don't think that the areas that they hit were destroyed, that the 3 nuclear spots that were hit, they say they weren't destroyed. So they asked this question.
I think it's been completely demolished. I think the reason we're here is because those pilots, those B-2 pilots, did an unbelievable job. And, the fake news, like CNN in particular, they're trying to say, well, I agree that it was destroyed, but maybe not that destroyed. You know what they're doing? They're really hurting great pilots that put their lives in the line. CNN is scum, and so is MSDNC. They're all, and frankly, the networks aren't much better. It's all fake news, but they should not have done that. Those pilots hit their targets. Those targets were obliterated, and the pilots should be given credit. They're not after the pilots, they're after me. They want to try and demean. You don't believe that Iran can rebuild its nuclear program? Iran will never rebuild its nuclear. From there? Absolutely not. That place is under rock. That place is demolished. The B-2 pilots did their job. They did it better than anybody could even imagine. They hit late in the evening. It was dark with no moon, and they hit that target with every one of those things, and that place is gone. But when I see CNN all night long, they're trying to say, well, maybe it wasn't really as demolished as we thought. It was demolished. You take a look at the pinpricks, and you see that place is gone. And I will say, I think CNN ought to apologize to the pilots of the B-2s. I think that MSDNC ought to apologize. I think these guys really, these networks and these cable networks are real losers. You really are. You're real ugly.
Yeah, he's not a happy camper at all because of the ceasefire and then what had transpired. He was so upset that when he was asked this question, he was heading towards the chopper there. He dropped another bomb. Here it is.
We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
Yeah, he's not a happy camper because of what's transpired. These people have been fighting for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. That's all they know. They just want to, kill each other. It's insane, right? It's just insane. So this is what Trump dropped on his Truth Social just the other day. He just said, congratulations to everyone. It's been fully agreed by and between Israel and Iran that there will be a complete and total ceasefire in approximately 6 hours from now, when Israel and Iran have wound down and completed their in-progress final missions for 12 hours, at which point the war will be considered ended. Officially, Iran will start the ceasefire, and upon the 12th hour, Israel will start the ceasefire, and upon the 24th hour, an official end to the 12-day war will be saluted by the world. During each ceasefire, the other side will remain peaceful and respectful. He goes on, you can read it on here as well. I don't want to read the whole thing to you, but he says, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States, and he posted that June 23rd at 6:02. That's what he posted. So, give you an idea, when CNN was asking a silly question in regards to, whether the bombers hit their spot, if they hit their target, I'm just going to talk through this little video here that I'm about to show you. So this is the B-2 bomber. The B-2 bomber carries, the B-2 bomber will carry two of those bunker buster bombs, the Moab deals, like the mother of all bombs. Their ordnance is going to be dropped. They're guided via GPS, and here it is here flying through the air. Each B-2 bomber, like I said, has two of them. These things go 20 stories in the ground, and then they explode. So it is right there, Massive Ordnance Penetrator, or the MOP, M-O-P. This thing goes 200 feet into the ground, 20 stories. Crazy. 30,000 pounds. They drop 12 of these things, probably 4 on each site, I'm guessing. But they drop 12, and there's the B-2 bomber there. Of course, they're stealthy. They're undetectable by radar. That's the B-2 Spirit. And, yeah, 30,000 pound bombs times 2, and 4 at each site for a total of 12. What do you think, CNN? Do you think that those sites are gone? You think they're obliterated? Just like Hillary Clinton said she would have done if she was president? Yeah, those sites are gone. Like, it's just ridiculous, right? When you hear it coming from some of these news agencies. But, okay, anyway, we're going to zip along now to immigration here in Canada. I just put together a quick video here, and I sped it up. So it's about a minute long. I'm going to try to talk you through a little bit about it. But this is going from 1850. You want to watch it on my YouTube channel. If you're listening to it on my audio, flip over to my YouTube channel, The Surge Effect on YouTube, and watch this video, and you'll see it for your own eyes, how it grows from 1850 to 2024, early 2024, kind of late 2023. But you'll be able to see it. I'm going to talk you through it as we go here. So Of course, you have the United Kingdom back in 1850s and stuff. A lot of people from the UK, right? 40,000 people. And then you have the United States, you have Ireland, you got France, you got Hungary, you got the German Empire, of course, Scandinavia, Italy, Russian Empire. And it's, of course, goes from highest to lowest, right? So the UK pretty much has it here till about 1919. It's still hanging in there for the United Kingdom. There's still about almost 1 million people have come over, from the United Kingdom in the 1930s, 1940s, around the war, 1943, 1944. And then the UK, they start to drop off around 2000, because right now we're at about 1964, 1965. Now, Italy's growing a little bit, but UK's still up there, almost 1 million. Every year, it's growing. And then China starts to take over. China starts to take over around 2000, and India. China and India and the Philippines. Now India's in the lead, then China, then the Philippines. India's still in the lead, then China. So when it finishes, India is off the chain in the lead. So that's part of our immigration, right? And if you look at their immigration, they just had a big, massive march in Canada in September in 2003. This was Canada, a land of the homeless. People were marching down the big city, but those are the signs that they were showing. Canada, land of the homeless. We have all kinds of homeless encampments across this land. I'm going to show you some here. I've showed these before, if you have never seen it on my podcast. But these are all major cities, right? Vancouver and Toronto. These are in Ottawa. And these are encampments. People that do not have homes. No homes. And yet, we keep bringing in people by the millions into this country. But yet down in places like Toronto and Ottawa, these people are sleeping on the streets, and they're sleeping in tents, and they're just... They need a place to stay, but yet we keep bringing people in. They've done this over in the UK as well, in Ireland, in England, and Australia as well. The immigration is through the roof. So listen to this Irish landlord talking about immigration housing.
Sure, you have groups exactly the same that look after migrant costs and housing. And what has happened is Mears has offered all the private landlords twice the rents in order to keep these migrants, because, of course, the government is giving them the big money to get them out of the hotels. So what is happening is all the people of Ballymena that lived here, born here, actually can't get housed here, and that too is causing friction in this area. And not only can they not get housed here, if landlords are getting £2,000 a month for a house, then every house in the street goes for £2,000, whether there's migrants in them or not. And that is pushing the young people out of this area. It's changing the culture of this area, and this is happening right across Northern.
So that's in Ireland. Just to give you an idea, my wife's aunt is from England. Years ago, she came over for a visit, and she told me, she said, everything that happens in England usually takes a few years to get here to Canada, but everything that happens there kind of comes here. And you know what? Over the years, I watched things happen over there, and then I watched them happen here a few years later, and that was in Britain. So there was in Ireland, and that guy there was talking about immigration housing and about how the taxpayers in Ireland, of course, are paying for the housing for immigration. Well, we do the same thing here in Canada. We put people up in motels and hotels down in Niagara Falls area. They do the same thing in the States, right? They've done it with taxpayer dollars from the States. They put people up in hotels and stuff. See how it's the same kind of thing, right? So here's an Irish person talking about immigration. Another Irish person talking about immigration. Here we go.
Questions asked. Where are the women and children? And worse still, the government hands them the world on a silver platter. Free accommodation, free meals, free healthcare, pocket money, while ordinary hard-working Irish people are struggling to make ends meet. They are living like kings, while we are made to look like a pack of fools in our own land. Well, let's call it what it is. The government is corrupt. They do not have our best interests at heart. They are more interested in serving global agendas and lining their own pockets than protecting the rights of the Irish people.
Global agendas. Imagine that. Global agendas. Here's another group. This group is in Paris. Immigrants just outside of the City Hall in Paris. They want housing. So that is just outside of City Hall in Paris. Here is Tommy Robinson in England. If you've never heard of Tommy Robinson, give him a Google. Check him out on YouTube. I actually talked about Tommy a few podcasts ago, maybe 30, 40 podcasts ago. Did a little talk on Tommy, but here we go.
Christian? I am a Christian, yeah.
Yeah. What is the age of consent in your religion?
There is an age consent. We don't have an age consent in religion. We live under law. We have separation of church and state.
Okay.
Unlike you weirdos who believe that...
We're not weirdos.
You are a weirdo, bruv. You think you can have sex with a pubescent child.
What is the age of consent in Christianity?
I do understand it. I do understand it. You've made it very clear. You made it clear. When a child starts puberty, you can have sex with them.
No. You don't just go to any 9-year-old and be like, no.
No. Who decides how mature she is then? You.
The parents.
Oh, the parents.
Yes.
So if you decide the maturity of your 9-year-old.
For my 9-year-old, of course.
And if your 9-year-old, and you think if your 9-year-old is mature,
if she's maturely ready, physically ready, then that's how you determine.
I don't know about you, but in our culture, you get arrested for that kind of thing, and you get thrown in jail, right? Because, like Tommy's trying to explain, they separate church and state, right? So the laws of their land in Britain is that you cannot be with a minor, period, or you get put in jail. But the immigration, of course, with the immigrants that live there under their religion, it's perfectly fine. And this is what happens, right? So I'm going to show you another little clip here. This is of two dudes that aren't of the same religion as this other statue, and this is what they do. See? So when you have that situation that goes on, you have too much dilution, right? You got people that don't believe in something so much that they start to offend people that of the house they came into. If you go into someone's home, you should look after yourself and listen to house rules, right? House rules are house rules. Go by the house rules and be a good guest, right? So I'm going to show you another little clip. I've showed this on a podcast a couple podcasts ago because this just happened recently. And this was in Toronto, Canada. This was an ambulance. Had people in the back of the ambulance, and they were trying to get the ambulance, obviously, through this crowd, but they can't. There's somebody in the back of the ambulance that needs to get to the hospital, but they went down that road. Now they got to be diverted. So now the police are trying to help them kind of get around, and then they'll back up, and then they'll have to go down that road. But as you can see, this road is literally blocked off with people having some kind of a protest. And looks like Palestinian protest, probably about Gaza and what have you. This is right here in our own soil. So here's an ambulance got to turn around because they won't let them through there. So you can call that what you want and think that it's okay, but in my opinion, it's not okay. Absolutely not okay. I'm going to show you one last clip here that I'm going to have a little talk about this clip after I play it, but this is what's called herd mentality, right? Watch this. There you go, right? You send one across, one does it, and everyone does it. As soon as one does it, everyone else seems to follow along like lemmings, right? Like sheep. like little sheep to the slaughter. And because people don't think anymore. People don't think for themselves anymore and use reasoning and logic, critical thinking about what's going on in this world. I literally explained this to somebody the other day about immigration. So immigration, if you have a cup of coffee and you start to put milk in that coffee and you start to drink a bit of your coffee, but you keep putting milk in, sooner or later, you'll have no coffee and all milk. So this analogy is, of course, the coffee being the citizens of a country born and raised there. And then the milk is the immigration. Sooner or later, you'll have more immigration than you will of its own people. I'm a firm believer. I believe, in my opinion, that if you, like I said, you have people come to your house, they're guests, they need to abide by your rules. And if they don't, then you'll ask them to leave. They have to be part of your tribe, right? They have to be part of who your culture is, right? What's it mean to be Canadian? What's it mean? It's a good question for you. Leave it in the comments below. I hope we've given you some room for thought. Think about certain things. I wanted to talk a little bit about what, of course, was going on with Iran and Israel. Just a quick little in and out on that one. Everyone has their own thoughts about it. Was it right? Was it wrong? But I know a lot of people from the States that believe that, you know what? Trump is probably one of the greatest presidents that they ever had. Whether people believe it or whether they don't, they can call him Orange Man bad or whatever they want to do. It doesn't matter because the policies are policies. And what he's doing for that country, more countries probably wish they had a guy just like Trump in their backyard. But we have a globalist in Canada. So we have Mark Carney. He's a globalist. He's a self-admitted globalist. And if you don't know what that is, go look it up. I've talked about it in my podcast before. So anyway, with that being said, that's going to be the end of today's podcast. Like I've always said, yesterday is history, tomorrow's a mystery, and today is the present. That's why they call it a gift. You got to keep moving forward. You got to keep going forward because there's nothing waiting for you back there. And life is tough. It's not easy. Keep moving forward. You'll get there. Until next podcast, everyone. Cheers.